application is simple interest. Simple interest. That's the interest. Also an interest is between interest and profit. Okay, interest and profit. So when you borrow something or you deposit something in a bank, you may get what? An interest. For a typical example of interest is what? MTN loan. You go and borrow, they will deduct you some interest. Yeah. Okay, good. You'll be paying additional interest. Yeah. So this is when money is borrowed or deposited at the bank for a certain period. It attracts extra amounts given at a given rate, and that extra amount is the simple interest we are talking about. The typical example is the MTN loan. Good. Principal, that's the actual amount borrowed or deposit at the bank. So that's the actual amount you borrowed or deposit at the bank. Maybe you put it into the business, okay, or you get it from it. Time, the period for which the money is borrowed, that's the time. The rate of interest, that's the rate of interest, that at which the percentage at which the interest on the amount borrowed or deposited, that's the percentage for the rate. And we have amount to the sum of the principal and interest. I'm interested with the amount per hour because I use it for compound interest. So the amount is the sum of the principal and interest. So you have to know all these terms. Simple interest, the meaning, the principal, the actual money borrowed, the time, the period, the rate, the period at which the interest is on, and the amount. If you add the principal and the interest, you have to get the amount. So mathematically, interest is principal times time times rate out of 100. Interest principal times time times rate out of 100. That's PTR out of 100. Because of the rate is percent, that's why we have what 100 there. Okay, good. Now we can make the P the subject here. So from this formula, if I want to find the principal here, I want to make P the subject here. I want to find the P is, you know that interest is P C R out of 100. Okay, so I'll multiply here by 100. I always told you get rid of the denominator. Okay, so that you can solve the question. So multiply both sides by 100. So this will cancel, this will cancel. So now we have what? 100 times the interest equals P C R PTR. Okay, equal the PTR. Then if you want to find the P, you divide both sides by the T and R. The T and R. So T R. Both sides by T and R. So I'll cancel it and cancel it. Then our P is this. Okay, very good. Then if you want to find the T, you use the same formula here. So if you want to find the T, you read the same formula. So that one, what should we do? You will divide both sides by the PR. PR. Good. So if you want to find the maybe the T, you divide both sides by. So T R. Then I want to make the T the subject. So I divide both sides by dot P R. P R. Then this R will go, this P will go, it will cancel. So therefore our T is this. Okay, the same thing. If we want to find the rate, we do the same thing. Okay, so let's clean the board. So for the principal, you will get this. That's interest times 100. Then that's PT. I'll show you how to work it. Then that's for the principal. Then the time to is what? Interest times 100 out of the PR. Then the rate is interest times 100 out of the PT. You get all this from this formula. You just make each of them the subject. Very nice. Then amount is P plus what? Interest. We talk about amount, that's the sum of principal and what? Interest. For repayment on installment, if it is monthly installment, it's the amount out of the number of months. The amount out of the number of months. But if yearly installment, it's the amount out of the number of years. So this is what you have to know under simple interest and maybe compound interest. You have to know this. So let's solve some example on simple interest. Kusi borrowed 24,000 Ghana cedi from a bank. He pays after 2 years at the rate of 12% simple interest. Find the interest and the amount paid to be paid at the end of what? 2 years. At the end of 2 years. So Kusi borrowed 24,000 Ghana cedi. Okay, and that will be our what? We said principal is the borrowed or the man deposit at the bank. The man deposit at the bank. So that will be our principal. Okay, and the time is 3 years, and our rate, that's what, 12% simple interest. That's our rate. They say we should find the interest, and know that interest is principal times time times rate out of 100. So just do the substitution. Very easy. Make use of the calculus, then you get this. Then the amount to be paid at the end of 2 years. Now, since we know the interest, we can find for the amount. Amount is principal plus interest. Principal plus interest. Therefore, our amount is this. That's 29,760 Ghana cedi. The interest on a certain amount deposited at the bank for 4 years at a rate of 5% per annum. That's the PA is per annum, okay? It's 1,600 Ghana cedi. How much money was deposited? How much money was deposited? So it means that how much money was deposited? We are finding what? Good. That's the principal. That's the money deposited, okay? And we're giving the interest because the interest on a certain amount deposited at the bank for 4 years at a rate is this. So our interest is 1,600 Ghana cedi. Then the year is 4. Then the rate is 5% per annum. To find the principal, you have to make the principal the subject from the simple interest formula. If you make it a subject, you will get this. Interest times 100 out of RT. Then that here too, you make a substitution. Then therefore, our interest is this. That's very simple, and this is simple interest. The next example on simple interest, that's the third example. The interest on 1,500 Ghana cedi deposited at the bank for 3 years was 990 cedis. Find the interest rate per annum. Find the interest rate per annum. So here we are giving the principal and the interest. So which one is our principal? The interest on this deposited at the bank. So 1,500 is being deposited at the bank, and that's our principal. And our interest is the 90 Ghana cedi. And we're giving the time. So we just make out the subject for a simple interest formula. You will get this. Then you make the substitution. Since we know the interest, then our final answer is 2%. Rate is 2%. Okay, good. Calculate the time in which 6,000 Ghana cedi will attract an interest of 1,200 Ghana cedi at 20% per annum. So we should find the time in which 6,000 Ghana cedi will attract an interest of this. So the question is, which one is our principal and which one is our interest? Okay. So here, our principal is what? The 6,000 Ghana cedi, because that's what being deposited, which attract the interest. Our interest is what? 1,200 Ghana cedi. Okay. And our rate is what? 20%. So therefore, the time is this. So you just do your substitution. I already told you that 20%, the reason why there's no percentage here is because we already have 100 there. So there's no need for you to bring percent there, okay, when using the formula. Then the year will be, the time will be 1 year. Make use of the calculus, you get 1. That's 1 year. And this will be our last example on simple interest, okay. So a man borrowed a sum of money from a bank at 12%. After a year, 1 year, he paid 89,600 Ghana cedis to settle the loan and interest. Okay, that's what he paid to settle the loan and the interest. How much did the man borrow from the bank? So we don't know the principal because the man borrowed this from the bank, don't know it. And he said that after 1 year, he paid this. And what he paid is the amount that he paid. So that's our amount. So since we don't know the principal, solution. So now we don't know the principal. But we know that amount is principal plus time. Good. So why not make the interest the subject, since I know the interest formula, which is PTR out of 100. So let's make the interest the subject here. And the interest formula is this. Now, from this idea, we know that interest is A minus P. So I just substitute this one in place of the I. I is A minus P. So that things will be more easier. So A minus P. Then we use this formula. Since I know the amount, I know the time, I know the rate, I don't know the P, then I can make the P and find for the P. Good. So this is it. Now I always advise you that when there's a denominator, make work of the denominator, remove the denominator from there by multiply both sides by the denominator. If you multiply both sides by 100, you will get this, because 100 it will cancel, then you have this. So 100 times this, you get this nicely. So therefore, you group items. So I group items, this 100 will go here. I have a 112p. Then I divide both sides by 112. Then my p is this. That's for simple interest. Subscribe to Sinapolis YouTube channel for more videos. So last question on the simple interest. I have a last question for you. Yes, I want you to do this. Pause the video and do this for me. Good. Then let's check our answers. Kate borrowed 8,260 Ghana cedis from a bank at a rate of 12% per annum simple interest. Calculate the simple interest at the end of 7.5 years. The amount repaid at the end of 7.5 years. The amount paid per month if she agreed to repay the loan mounted at equal monthly installments over 7.5 years. Wow. Good. Solution. Since he borrowed, that's our principal, the time, and we're giving the rate. And so you should calculate the interest. And you know that the interest is of principal times time. So this one, the I, you're able to get it. You had this, right? Good. That's very good. Then the amount that's paid at the end of what? The 7.5. 7.5 is 7.5. Okay, that's the time. So amount is principal plus time. Since we know the principal and we know the interest, principal plus interest, sorry. Since we know the principal and know the interest, we can find for the amount. Good. So therefore, our amount is this. Now, the third one, the amount paid per month if she agreed to repay the loan at equal monthly installments, okay, per month. I gave you the per month when I was developing the formula. So that's the monthly installment. For us to get a monthly installment each month, that's what amount out of the number of what? Months. Yes, I give it to you. So for us to get a number of months, we have number of months. The time is, that's 7.5 years. So to get the number of months, you have to multiply by 12 because we have for 12 months in a year. 12 months in a year. So number of months is 75 times the 12, because we said per month, okay, at the end of the month. Good. So we have 12 months, that would be 90 months. Now we know the amount, so we can find for what? The monthly installment, because we are working in months, so that's 90 months. Therefore, our amount is 74.38 Ghana cedi. 174.38 Ghana cedi. Very good. So our last application is a compound interest. Okay, that will be my last application. Compound interest is a type of interest where the interest earned on an investment or a loan is added to the principal amount, and subsequent interest calculation are based on the new total. Very simple. So the interest earned on a loan on investment is added to the principal amount, and subsequent interest are based on the total. So this is what compound interest I'm saying. So maybe the principal at the end of the first year, that's P1, that's my principal. Then I'll calculate the interest on the first year, then I'll go and add it to the principal. That's all, to get the amount. So I'll calculate the interest on it. So the first year plus the interest on the first year. Okay, so this principal, you calculate the interest on the first year. So the first year, you will get this. Now, that's for year 1. On the second year, now this amount become my new principal. Okay, this amount become my new principal. Okay, this amount 1 here, become my new principal. That's this principal 2. Good. Then we will do the calculation on interest on the principal again. Then we will get what? Another amount 2, which is the principal 2 plus the interest that we get on it. Then it goes on and on and on and on and on. So that's why I saying that it's a type. That's why I saying that it's a type of interest where the interest earned on the investment alone is added towards the principal. Good. So the next year or the next month is monthly installment. Then the amount becomes the principal. Then we continue so on and so on. Okay, good. So that's for compound interest. But I'm not going to use that. I have a formula for you, a nice one. You can decide to use the one in your book, and that one too is very good. So good. Let's continue. Compound interest formula. This is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to that process. A, payment without installment. In the question where there's no installment, you use this formula. Amount is principal, bracket open, 1 plus r, bracket close, to the power t. So this is the amount formula. So getting the amount, then we find the compound interest, which is amount minus the principal. This idea is from amount is principal plus interest. Okay, principal plus interest. Yes. Okay, but we are doing compound, so we just make the interest the subject, and which is the P will come here. So it becomes amount minus the principal. Okay, amount minus the principal, and which is this. Okay, which is this. So our compound interest is amount minus the principal. So A, payment without installment, we are using that formula. Then B, compound interest for installment. So when the payment is in installment, then the amount formula that we are using is this. Okay, then we calculate the compound interest. Since we know the amount, then we know the principal, we can find for the compound interest. Okay, Good. So when we are using the B, when there's an installment, let's take note of this. Annually is 1. Semi-annually is 2. It's like semi-annually is maybe half a year. Okay, that's 1 on 2. But since we are using formula, we are taking what? 2. We will not use 1 and 1 out of 2. Okay. Quarterly is 4 because quarter is 1 out of 4. Good. Since we are using the formula, then it's our n is 4. Okay, we are using which when there's installment, our n is 4. So let's take note of that. Okay, good. So monthly 12 and daily is what? 365. Good. So we know that P is the principal, the R is the interest, the N is the compounded a certain number of time. So since we are using the formula, when it's half a year, please don't say that the N is 1 on 2. It's 2. And say it's quarterly. Don't say N is 1 on 4. It's 4. Okay, please note that. Give a thumb. Good. Then T years, that's all for the period of what? Years. Good. So that's for the compound interest. Let's solve example on this compound interest. So compound interest, our first example, find the amount at the end of 4 years if 5,000 Ghana cedi is invested at 5% per annum at I, simple interest, II, compounded interest with interest credited. Solution, they say we should find the simple interest and know our simple interest formula. So we know the principal which was invested, that's the 5,000. Then we have the year, we have the rate. So this one simple. Therefore, our simple interest is this. Now, compounded interest, that one, since it's compounded, do we have any installment here? No. So there's no N here. You have a yearly, quarterly installment, you don't have it. So you have to use the first formula, that's the B. Since there's no installment, let's take note. So amount is this. Since we know the principal, we know the rate, then we know the time. The time is 4. So principal plus the rate out of 4. Good. Then you can change this one into decimal as 0.05. Okay. Then amount is this. Since we know the amount, we can solve for the compound interest, which is amount minus the principal. We know the principal, therefore our compound interest is 1,077.54 pesos or Ghana cedi. Okay, good. That's for the compound interest. The first example, very simple. So when we are using the formula, this is the formula when there is no installments. So our second example on compound interest is this. A man deposited 800 Ghana cedi in a bank at 12% compound interest per annum. Find his amount at the end of the 3rd year in the compound interest. Very simple when you are using the formula. So you know the principal, you know the rate, and you know the time. I change the rate 12% to 0.12. That's the same thing. That's 12 out of 100. We do division on those things. Good. So the amount from the formula, since there's no installment, we are using this formula. Now we know the principal, we know the rate, then do the substitution and work for it. Make use of a calculator. This is your amount. Then the compound interest is amount minus the principal. Then we know amount. Then this is what? The principal. Good. A trader deposits 9,000 Ghana cedi in the bank at 7% per annum. Calculate 7% per annum compound interest for 5 years. If the trader withdraw 5,500 Ghana cedi at the end of the third year, calculate the amount at the end of the fifth year, 5 years period. So here, this question, the person deposit this in the bank at what, the rate of 7% at the 5 years, okay? So, and there's a withdrawal on the third year. So we can't work it 5 years. So we work it to the third year. Then we withdraw from the amount. Then we get our new amount. Then we continue with the next 2 years. So our new amount there will become the principal for the next the third year, okay? The risk for the next 2 years. Very simple. So the amount is this. We know our principal. Now I said that we work to the third year because there's a withdrawal on the third year. So we work to the third year. So the amount for the third year, we have this. That's what 11,025.39 Ghana cedi. There's a withdrawal of 5,500 Ghana cedi on the third year. So it means that our amount here is what for the third year, so 5,525 Ghana cedi for the third year, and this amount will be our principal for the third year, okay? Since I was explaining the principal when we are using the old formula, the principal, then the amount of the principal plus the interest. Then the next year, that amount will turn to your principal. Good, that's what we are doing here. Then we work for the amount for the remaining 2 years. So you see, our amount now for the third year become the principal here, okay? So we work for the remaining 2 years. Then this is the amount for the whole 5 years, and there's a withdrawal inside, okay? That's the amount for that. Good. Very nice question. More examples on compound interest. Example 4. A bank is offering an interest of 12% per annum, compounded quarterly. Compounded quarterly, that's what? The installment, compounded quarterly, okay? Good. So there's a compounded quarterly, meaning that our N here is what? 4, not 1 of 4. We're using the formula. If you put 1,000 Ghana cedi in your account, how much interest will you earn at the end of 1 year? How much interest will you earn at the end of 1 year? So they put it into the account. That's all your deposit. So that's the principal is 1,000, and you have 12%. Then our N is 4. Why? It's what? Compounded quarterly. I will talk about it. So compounded quarterly, okay? That's why we have N. So there's an installment, okay? So compounded quarterly. So this our N is 4, not 1 of 4. No, our quarter is 4, 1 of 4. But we are using the formula, so our N is 4. So therefore, since there is an installment, then it says you should find the compound interest. The compound interest is amount minus the principal. So we have to work for the amount as we always do. Since there's installment, we are using this formula. Okay, since there's N, compounded quarterly. So now you just do the substitution in there, very easy. Our time is what? 1 year. 1 year. There's the 1 year. Okay, good. Then after solving, you get this. So this is your amount. Therefore, our compound interest is amount minus the principal, and that is our amount. Very simple question. A woman deposited 2,800 Ghana cedi in a bank at 20% per annum compound interest. If the interest added is half a year, I'm interested in that. If the interest added is half yearly, that is semi-annual, okay, half yearly. Find the compound interest on her deposit for 3 years. If the interest added is half yearly, so there's interest added in half yearly, and which one there's an installment of interest, okay, good. Since there's installment, this is our principal. Our principal is 2,800, our rate is 20%, that's 0.2. And the N is half yearly. I told you half yearly. Okay, the N, we are using this, so it will be 2. It will be 2. Since we are using the formula, it will be 2. Okay, that's why N is of 2 and it's for 3 years. So I'm interested with this. So meaning that there's an installment. Then since there's interest at the half yearly, then we are using this formula. Okay, using this formula. Then it's the subtraction. Then you have this. You have this as. Then you have this as, and this is your amount, and therefore your compound interest is amount minus this. That's very good. Very simple question. So says a man invested 12,000 Ghana cedi at a rate of 10% per annum. At what time would his investment amounted to 15,972 Ghana cedi? Solution. So here you were given the principal which was invested, then the rate 10%, but we don't know the time, but this is the amount. Okay, so they are asking us to find the time, at what time. So, and there's no compounded, maybe quarterly or half a year or semi-annual. Then we are using the first formula. Since there's no N, we are using this. This is the amount. Okay, so for us to find the time, now that we know the amount, the principal, then the subtraction. So what should we do here? We should divide both sides by this. We divide both sides by 12,000 Ghana cedi, and divide here 2 by 12,000 Ghana cedi. Okay, 12,000 Ghana cedi. So this will cancel and will cancel. So you have this. Okay, so now then if you divide this, you'll get this. Good. 1 plus 0.1, that's 1.1. We are looking for t. What should we do here? So from our idea of indices and logarithm, log, so you have to take log of both sides. Okay, you have to take log of both sides. So you take log of both sides, that's log 10 of both sides. Then since it's log 10 log of both sides, and it's called log apostine. So from the one property of the log, you have to move this t here. There's a property of log. We say that maybe log of a b to the power n is, the n will come here, then log of a b. Okay, so that's log of ab. So we are changing to this, and that's what we did here. So I call log apostine. So now since there's t here, I'm finding t, so we divide both sides by the log of 1.1, then divided by log of 1.1. Okay, 1.1, very simple. Therefore your t, so this will cancel and this will cancel, and your t is equal to this. A mixture equator, you have t also 3 years. That's very simple question. 3 years. Good. So this is the end of the percentage video and its application. You have come a long way. I will encourage you to learn more, solve more examples. Subscribe to Senior Fellows, my YouTube channel. And if you want online tutorial, you can DM me or WhatsApp me. Then you talk. Bye bye.